Howdy folks, Sapper here, aka Sean, and I'm bringing you Next War World War III. This will be turn 6, part 2. Maybe I should just say 6.2. I don't know. Let's get with the modern era, right? We don't do turns and parts anymore. We're just going to call it 6.2. So, alright, so when we left off the last time, I think we had to do the first supply phase. And if I'm not mistaken, let's look here. Let's look at our handy dandy sequence of play. So yeah, first supply phase, so it's not just an initiative turn thing. So we did, alright, so we didn't have to do it here because everybody's in supply. Easy enough. Took a little bit of finagling and counting and recounting, and this one's a little bit of, it can be a little bit of a pain. Now that it's a storm turn, of course, lines of communication have been shortened because of the bad weather. So let me see, when it all is said and done, just these units here are out of supply in the south. This supply depot right here is able to push supply down to all these guys here. And unfortunately, the headquarters to these 3 stacks are right here, and the headquarters are out of supply. If the headquarters move back just a little bit, we could probably get it. Because supply is 8 hexes, and road movement is 1 hex each now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, what? 8. I think we might be good there. Now that I've recounted it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let me just double check. Well, look at that. Caught me making a mistake live on camera. So there we go. Because we have that, and that headquarters supplies those guys. So we go 8 to here, and then these guys can do another 4. The headquarters can do another 4. So there we go. So nobody out of supply here, but I'm not going to recount these here, but we've got these 3 stacks of units are out of supply, and it's mainly because of that headquarters right there. There's no road going to that headquarters. He happens to be out in the middle of nowhere, off the supply grid. And then basically this group of units here, where's my pencil? So these group of units here, these guys are out of supply too, because I believe all of their headquarters are here, but their headquarters can't reach. So it's 4 hexes, right? So 4 road, 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, we created a new MSU here, which will help us extend supply. So that is it for here. Oh, you know what? Yeah, so I almost caught myself. So this is a contested phase, and that's a contested phase. So I'm actually on to the initiative, move, and combat phase, which is only happening over here. But I have to, so everybody is in supply here. I think I managed to figure out how everybody was in supply. I think I need to redo it here. So you got 6 from a map edge, and what I need to redo is that needs to go there. So that's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so these guys are all in supply now. So it's 1, 2, 3. I don't know if I can trace through that city. So these guys here, well, they were in supply. They're not going to be in supply now, but they will at least be in supply for about half of this turn. Man, this river right here, whatever the name of that river is, that really screws things up. So what I think I need to do, I think it would be smarter. Let me take back a move here. And let me put that headquarters there, because then that goes 1, 2, 3. 3.5. So yeah, that's the smarter move. What is under here? What guys are under here? Yeah. Hopefully we can clear that. I don't know what the clearing number is, but hopefully we can clear that before we get out of supply. I don't think it's going to happen though. And of course, all these 78th Group Army, they were off the map. They came in as reinforcements. So over that way is where they were. So I've moved them onto the map. Let's see. You know, honestly, I don't think so. That is 1, 2, 3. Yeah, they'll still be in supply from the headquarters. And then what other moves did I make? So I just moved some guys around here to kind of surround this guy. Hopefully we can take him out. So 71st Group Army, they had units that were over here, so they bypassed this area to get down here. So, you know, we entered that city right there. So unfortunately, we are stuck under a clearing marker. We won't be able to effectively attack Haiphong. But we're getting the units in place, and that was kind of my main focus, was just starting to get units in place. Obviously, we're going to get bogged down by clearing markers. There's really, if you look at Haiphong, there's really no good way to surround it. I mean, we don't want to attack from marsh without a road being there. Ooh, that's a major river right there. So honestly, those guys being there is probably not good. They're not going to be able to attack across that major river because there's no bridge. Yeah, so Haiphong is going to be a pain in the butt by the looks of it. So we might have to rethink that. Yeah, we're going to have to at least clear that so that we can get units down here and we'll be able to trace supply. So that's it. So again, this is the initiative move and combat segment. Movement is done, so now I just need to figure out where I want to do combats. Not going to be one here. I think probably we are going to be looking at that spot right there and probably that spot right there. Those are going to be the only two combats. So this will be a relatively short combat segment for the Chinese, but I'll be back in a bit. Alright, I have just conducted the Chinese movement and combat segment. So we had one combat take place right here, and we had another combat take place right here. So let's zoom in. Alright, that glare shouldn't be too much of an issue. So we were attacking this hex. It is a city hex. Attacking from here and here. Ended up being 1-to-1 odds because of the city. We had a total of, I think, +3 column shifts. Let me make sure I got that right. No, it was just a net of 1 column shift to the right, which is good because of the city. Chinese threw in some air support. Vietnam threw in some air support. The Chinese air support was aborted. The Vietnamese was not. So when it was all said and done, it looks like the Vietnamese took a step loss and the Chinese took a step loss. So the Vietnamese, are still there. They are not leaving Tuyen Chong. Is the Q pronounced like a CH? So it's Tuyen Chong? I don't know. My Chinese and Vietnamese are not good. And then right here, we attacked this hex from here, here, and here. It ended up being, because of the jungle, the mechanized units were halved, so it ended up being 17-9, which is basically 2-to-1, or not even 2-to-1, 1.5-to-1 odds. The Chinese are pretty much out of air support, so they didn't support this with anything. The Vietnamese did. They called in on the Canadians that are helping them, but the Canadian F-18 was early detected. The Chinese scrambled one of their fighters, and then they managed to abort that guy and send him back home. The Vietnamese ended up taking 2-step losses, but they did pass their efficiency check to see if they could. They took 2-step losses with a retreat, but they passed their efficiency rating check, so they did not retreat. So they are basically stuck right. They're staying right there, which is going to further hinder the Chinese. So that is it That's it for the movement and combat. Now I believe we have the elite. Let me look. There's going to be no naval surface combat here, just because there's nobody. The Chinese don't have, they have a very, most of their naval units are tied up in the Taiwan Straits, so no naval surface combat. Now it looks like we have the elite movement, reaction movement segment, which I don't think there's a lot of elite units on. I don't think that the Vietnamese have a lot of elite units, and the ones that they have I think are going to stay in place. So there's probably nothing going to happen there. And then it looks like the Chinese will have a chance to do exploitation combat. Of course, they are going to get, there's a penalty of 2 column shifts to the left, and I think the 2 combats that we did, well, we could probably do here, but the combat for the city of Tuyen Chong right here, they're already getting 2 column shifts to the left because of the city, so another 2 on top of that. I don't think that the Chinese are gonna, I think they're probably gonna pass on that one. They took a beating just this last time. They weren't able to evict the current residents from that city, so another 2 column shifts left is not going to help them out. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead, and we have the elite reaction, which honestly I think we've got, yeah, those Marines aren't elite. I think the ones we have are right here. And yeah, that looks like it's it. So the stuff, the guys that are around Hanoi, and I don't think I'm going to move them. So it's going to be basically exploitation. So I'll take a look at what we've got here. Probably not going to do it. In fact, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, yeah, I don't think the Chinese are going to do that. They weren't able to get to move them, although I'll look at it. I'll get back with you guys and I'll look at that and see if they want to do that. Alright, so after some careful deliberation, I've decided that the Chinese will attack. They'll re-attack that in the exploitation combat segment. I did forget to move, guys. Let's see. Yeah, I do get to do some movement, so I'll go ahead, and it's not really going to, let me see, it's not going to affect anything here, but I do need to move the guys that are off to the west. So I do need to reposition some of these guys over here. So I'll do that after I'm done with the combat. It doesn't really affect a whole lot. Neither side is going to support the fight with any kind of, so this is just the exploitation movement. I only have 1 capability left on the headquarters and 1 capability left on the artillery. But we still have the basic movement and combat segment to go through as well. So China is going to withhold supporting this because we still have a whole other combat segment left that I might want to use that for, depending on the results here. So if these guys do a rugged defense, then I'll end up using it during the basic combat segment as well. So China doesn't have a lot of support aircraft left. I think they only have 1 or 2, and the Vietnamese only have, I think, 2 support aircraft, and they're not that good. So they're going to save those for the movement and combat segment as well. So basically it's just going to be the ground forces slugging it out. It ends up being 13-4, which is 3-1 odds. I think the Chinese can get a -2 on the DRMs, 1 for the remainder, and 1 for attacking from 3 or 4 hexes. So here we go. We're going to roll it. We're going to do it live. Let's see what we get. -2. Oh, that's not going to turn out well. That's a 6. A 6 on the 3-1 in jungle. So it looks like each side is going to take a loss. So this was the lead unit. I had him cannoned for a reason. So he'll take the lead unit has to take the step loss. And what do we have? We have an armor division. Now that's an armor brigade and an infantry division. I think we will take, you know what? I bet you I didn't take that into account. I think defense is doubled in jungle. Yes, leg infantry is doubled in jungle. So that is 6, that's 8 defense. So it'll be 8 to 13. That will be 1.5 to 1. 1.5 to 1. I'm not going to go back and undo the previous attack, but I will stop this one. You know what? I guess I'm not going to do that attack. I forgot that this was jungle and leg infantry get extra defense. So guess what? These aren't the droids you're looking for. That didn't happen. The prior attack I'm going to let stand just because I didn't catch it. But yeah, we will not do that. I'm glad I decided to not dedicate a lot of assets that I have to undo as well. So anyway, there you have it. So basically all I need to do then is just do the exploitation move, which is primarily going to be the 78th Group Army, which is this turquoise color, I guess. Those guys are going to do a little bit of repositioning. I'll probably do some repositioning here. These guys have been yeah, I'll probably move those guys back and move these guys in. What do we got here? Here, let's just do this. Let's just do this. He will move here. He will move here. Actually, you know, if I do this, then I can get a -1 DRM for attacking from 3 hexes, because you're kind of partially surrounded. So I will do that. Or why don't we do this? He was here, so we'll move him here, and then that way that will allow these guys to go here and then to here. Yes, we will do that. Now what I was thinking about doing is I want to get these guys around to, can we see Hanoi? Yeah, so I want to get these guys over here to Hanoi, kind of like bypass this stuff, but then I kind of decided, nah, I'll just go ahead and hopefully we'll be able to clear, if we can clear this, then the 78th Group Army can just go this way and then hit Hanoi from the south. I think that's what the plan is going to be at the moment. But let me see, I don't want to get ahead of my supply. That is the humongous problem. So we'll go here. We'll go here. We put him here. That will be 1, 2, 3. Yep. 1, 2, 2.5. I think that's 3.5. I think it's 1 hex because there's no road. No road goes from here to here. Yeah, that's just 1. So yeah, this headquarters can still supply this guy, or both of those guys actually. So what is that? That is 1, 2, 2.5, 3.5. Yes, I can do that. Or I can go 1, 2, 3, 4. Got it. Done. Super easy. Yep, that looks like it's it. That is it for the exploitation, movement, and combat. Not really any combat, because generally the exploitation combat is not favorable. You really have to have some pretty good odds to, and or support, which I didn't have to allocate. So I think we're going to head off. It'll be the basic movement and combat segment, so that will encompass all 3 theaters. So I'll be back in a bit with that. All right, I didn't do much reaction move in combat. I just pulled these guys back. I think I want to say they were here. But anyway, I pulled those guys back. No, actually those guys were here. So I moved them up to here. I decided just to leave these guys in place because it is a city. So it's a little bit easier to defend in a city. Move the MSU back. These guys I decided to leave here because it's jungle, so they can defend in the jungle a little bit better. But that's about it. I did catch, or I did do some movement on the naval display. So I don't think, yeah, I didn't do anything there. Because I figured this would be more of a Taiwan thing. But I almost forgot, I had these Filipino Marines in the inshore box, so I basically moved them onto the Spratly Islands. So, oh, you know what? I can do a combat there. So yes, I need to do that combat. What are we doing? They're under a clearing marker, so it doesn't really affect them. They defend normally. So that is 4-2, 2-1 odds. 2-1. I just have to, I don't remember what the islands, what kind of terrain that's considered. So I'll have to go look at that real quick. Alright, the Allies have decided to do one combat, and that would be here in the Spratlys. It ended up being 2-1, but the Malaysian units, the 9th Paras and the 17th Paras, have a better efficiency rating, so that bumped it down to 1.5 to 1. The Malaysians threw in some air support, the Filipinos threw in some air support, but the Malaysians are a little bit better. These guys got aborted because of SAM fire. So when you fly over an at-sea box that has naval units in it, you use the naval detection. So both SAGs have pretty decent detection in SAM tracks. So it's 6 detection, 6 SAM. So SAMs turned around the Filipino plane. The Filipino SAMs from the SAG could not turn around the Malaysian plane. So the Malaysians actually came out on top on that one. It ended up being 1 step loss for the attackers. So Filipinos lost a battalion of Marines. Now we will go on to do some, probably, are we going to do naval surface combat? These guys get a free shot. So I think the Malaysians will do that. So it is, if you look, let me see if I can see it. Let me see what I'm looking at here. All right, so if you look, they're both, so these are they're naval 1s because of the 1. So they're both naval 1s, so we will use this column right here. So I'll go ahead and roll for, so the Malaysians, because they're not detected, they get basically a free shot. Now once they fire, they'll be, I think, area detected. I don't remember. I think it's area detected. So then the Filipinos, or the Philippine SAC, will be able to fire back. But if they end up getting a strike marker on them, they'll maintain that. So let's, as the Malaysians, will go ahead and fire. So we got a 2, which is good for the Malaysians. So we look on the naval 1, and we got a 2. So that's a 1, a strike 1. So that's versus naval. So it was point detected. No, it was area detected. Air unit, no. Cruise missile, strike marker, nope. So there's none of that. Alright, so there were no DRMs, so this SAG does get a strike 1 marker, and I need, man, I'm running out of strike markers. That's what you get. I think I have about enough strike markers for, for 1 game, but I'm actually playing 3 games, so that kind of makes it difficult. So now I need a detection marker. We're gonna say, I'm pretty sure that it's an area detected thing. So now these guys have a strike 1 marker on them, which will give them, I think, a +1 to the DRM. Yes, so that gives this SAG a +1. So yes, they're going to roll on the same table, the naval 1 table, but they have a +1 to die roll, so that is a 7. So if we look here, naval 1 all the way down here, so nothing happens. So it looks like the Malaysians, looking at it right now, the Malaysians are the better force than the Philippines. So that'll be it for naval surface combat. These guys will kind of, that's it for that phase. So you've kind of seen how naval combat works. It's actually a lot simpler than ground combat because you don't have to figure out odds or anything like that. I just need to figure out this battalion, or it's a battalion, so I just need to figure out the battalion is 1 victory point. So the Chinese get 1 victory point. So it looks like the Malaysians are the first. So if we look here, yeah, you're looking at it upside down, but that's just the way I have it. So the Malaysians are the first ones to score victory points in Vietnam. That's awesome. Go Malaysia. So that is it for the reaction move in combat. Let's go to the other side of the table. So that was reaction combat. So this is done. Now we go to second strike phase and second supply. Those will only take place in Vietnam because these guys, remember, have an initiative turn. So that's what's going to happen next. All right, folks. So this is the day after any video that you see before what I'm saying right now happened yesterday. And I don't remember exactly. I know I left off in the second strike phase. However, the second strike phase is initiative turn only. So it is only going to happen here in Vietnam. So I know that there's that much. I just don't know exactly where. I don't know if I resolved these 2 helo strikes here. And can you see that one? No, you can't see that one. Let me see. Can we see everybody in here now? Yeah, I think we see everybody in here now. And this helo strike on this deck. I don't remember if I resolved those yesterday when I quit playing. So I think I did, because I don't remember there being a strike marker on each. There's 2 units in this stack. I don't remember there being a strike marker in each one of those units. So rather than re-roll these helicopter strikes again, I know I did the detection portion of it. So I can only assume that I resolved the strike. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I really don't want to, quote unquote cheat, even though I'm not really cheating. I'm just, because I'm playing against myself. So I'm going to assume that I did resolve the strikes. I just didn't get that on the video. And of course, I may have covered that in the previous video, but I'm not going to go back and watch it to see if I did that, just because it's kind of a pain in the butt. So I have to take the video, the SD card out of the camera, put it on the computer, watch it, blah, blah, blah. I don't feel like doing all that. So I'm going to assume that these strikes happened. So that's really all I was going to do. I know I did the cruise missiles or the ballistic missiles. I know I remember doing that much. That's what happens when you get old, folks, is you just forget stuff. But China doesn't have a lot of air assets that they could allocate to Vietnam. Vietnam doesn't have a lot of air assets to allocate. So really the only thing that was going to happen were helicopter strikes anyway. So the strike phase is pretty much over. Let me look at my handy dandy player aid card and see. So yeah, air strikes, helicopter strikes, escorts. Yeah, we've pretty much done all that. There's really no naval bombardment. Well, actually, you know what I could do? Let me see. Can we see this? Yes. See that sag right there? Right there. I could actually do a naval bombardment of Ha Long Harbor. And there are 2 71st Group Army units under a clearing marker. So I can, in fact, do some naval bombardment, and I think that's why I put that sag there. So that is considered a Naval 1 strike. So let's see what happens. Let's roll the die. So that is a 6. I don't think that's going to be anything. No, a 6 is not good enough. I needed to get a 4 or lower. So there is no naval. Well, there is naval bombardment. They just missed their target. I guess those naval gunnery guys need to go back to marksmanship school or something. Now we can do headquarters strikes. You know what? I think I did do all that because, let me see, the dang screen time's out so I can't see. Can we see that? Yes. So this Supreme headquarters here has been rotated, so that tells me I think I did probably resolve the helo strikes. I'm pretty sure I did that. So maybe I covered that in my last video. So guess what? You guys get to see it twice. If once was amazing, twice will be twice as amazing. If you had to grit your teeth through it once, then guess what? You're going to have to grit your teeth through it a second time. But I know I didn't do the naval strike or the naval bombardment. So, you know, just one of those things that you catch every once in a while. You're lucky enough to catch something. And then also, on an admin note, something that I forgot to do is here in Taiwan. Oh, that glare is in the perfect spot. I can put my hand over it. Let's see if I can hold this. Hold this. I have to hold my rule book up over it. So right here, we captured that port. By we, I mean the People's Republic of China. They captured that port, and I have been forgetting to move units doing port-to-port sea transport. Sea transport limit is 5 for China. So what I did is I kind of retroactively went back and I moved these 2 units. So these guys would have moved in the initiative move and combat phase. So they moved into the port. Then during the exploitation move phase, they moved out of the port, so that's why they're here. And then another unit moved over, so these guys were all in the PRC holding box, which is over that way. So yes, these guys right here are in the port. The port is now overstacked, so it's only going to matter if Taiwan decides to attack these guys, which, you know, who knows if that's going to happen or not. So yeah, this port can hold a maximum of 3 stacking points. My sea transport limit is 5 points, I guess, per game turn. So I've used up all of my sea transport points. It is a contested move because the Taiwan Straits is contested. So I did roll for that, and of course I was successful both times. So nothing, there were no adverse reactions. No strikes or step losses to any of the Chinese units. So yeah, I've been forgetting. That's the whole point of me taking over that port, right? Was to use sea transport movement, and here I was forgetting to do it. So that has been resolved. So that takes care of the second strike phase, and I think we can now go on to second supply. So I will be back in a bit. I think the only place that supply is going to matter is definitely Korea and maybe a little bit in China. Let me go figure, or not China, Vietnam. So let me figure all that out. All right, basic move and combat segment. So it is the move portion of it. I've gone ahead and taken care of everything here in Taiwan. So I started moving. So what is this? The 73rd Group Army. These guys with the red icons. So they're kind of moving around. One of those guys came all the way from over here at the port. He did have enough movement to do that. I think another one was here at this beachhead, which oh, he was a Marine. So yeah, that's a Marine. So he could have landed at the beachhead. You know what? I don't know if that artillery could technically land at that beachhead. I need to look at that. I think if it's under so many movement points, then you can do that. But you know what? I don't think I'm going to take it back. That's just whatever. There's just so many little things to remember. Move this airborne headquarters up so they can, I mean, they don't have any support capabilities. But I just want to get them closer. Let's see what else. So yeah, that rocket artillery, whether or not I could actually move them, I don't think I can, but I'm not going to take it back. What else do we have here? Oh, that's just a nothing. So that AMP was, you know, he obviously was transporting that artillery right there. I moved back. So these are a couple of brigades of Marines. I just moved them. I pulled them back and moved in this unit, which came in off the sea transport. because I've been wanting to get the Marines off the front lines so that I can use them, maybe do another amphibious assault somewhere. You know, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Because we definitely need some more ports. This SAG, I think it was over here, so I moved him over here so he can start supporting this stuff. I got to looking at it. It probably would have been a good idea to attack from here, here, and here to this guy, but, you know, I'm not going to go back and relook at it. Of course, these guys would have been halved, I think, because they're attacking across the river, so it probably wouldn't have been all that great. Let's go look at sea movement. So let me see if I can remember what we did here. So these guys, I tried to move these guys to get them to the port. What port is that? I can't see it from here. But they would have ended up taking a strike result, so I just aborted. You can either take the strike or abort. I decided to abort. This SAG, no, not this one. This guy was in the PRC holding box, so I moved him out, and he was able to get a good move off the contested move. This AMF was, I think this AMF was in the Taiwan Straits holding box, so we're going to get him back to the PRC. And this guy came from the PRC. It's starting to get confusing because there's just so many pieces, and you're like, well, what was I? You got to think, well, what were my plans for this particular piece? Well, good grief, I got plans for every piece out here, so it can get confusing, and yeah, you're probably going to forget what you were going to do with your movements and all that, but it is what it is. So anyway, that's the movement segment for Taiwan. Now I have the basic movement segment for Korea, and then the basic movement segment for Vietnam. So the Korean basic movement segment will obviously be the North Koreans, and for Vietnam it'll be the Chinese. So I'll go ahead and take care of all those moves, and then we can move on to combat. All right, everybody, let's see if I can remember what I did yesterday, because when last we spoke, we had covered the movement and movement phase of the PRC in Taiwan. We had not done the North Koreans, nor had we done the PRC in Vietnam. So as you can look, all the canned units, those are the ones that have moved. All right, let me get my pointer here. See, I'm not ready. I wasn't ready to do this. So it looks like we pushed south here. We've pushed south here. Of course, these guys are out of supply. So what I really wanted to do is I wanted to try, and I was moderately able to do what I wanted to do, is I wanted to isolate these guys, which they are now isolated, right? Because there's no way that we can get supply. These mountains are going to prevent supply from getting to these guys from here. They're cut off from this direction, and they are also cut off right here, right, because of this unit here. So these guys are effectively isolated, even though my guys are out of supply. Now, because they were out of supply, I was not able to get all of these guys around here. I wanted to try to, you know, get a little bit more of an envelopment than I was able to get, but hey, whatever. You know, at least it looks like the 1st Armor Corps has now been successfully isolated. And there's, what do we got? Well, so we've got 3 divisions that are probably going to surrender, most likely. And I haven't really encountered the surrender option very often in games like in this game anyway. So I did a little bit of map cleanup. So these gray arrows basically mean everything from here to the east. East, let me look at my compass. Yeah, east, southeast. All these fortifications, mines, have been cleared effectively. So everything, if it's got a road going through it with fortification, I've considered that clear. Enough time has gone by that, you know, I'm not going to clear each individual one of them. And it kind of states that in the rules too, that, you know, to reduce counter clutter, just assume that the engineers have come in and started clearing at least main routes, right? Like, for example, am I going to go into this hex? There's probably no reason that I would actually enter that hex anymore. So yeah, that one's probably would still have mines and fortifications in it, but anything with a road on it, the North Koreans have cleared, at least from here south. Or excuse me, here east southeast. Got to remember I'm looking at this thing, you know, from the side and all that kind of stuff. So all that stuff changes. And then I just basically, like this stack of units here, I believe they were here. So I've kind of moved, reduced or compromised units off the line and moved new units onto the line, because this is the spot that I'm still trying to get. And that looks like it's about it as far as North Korean movements go. So yeah, just a little bit of jockeying of stuff. Of course, I moved these headquarters. I think they were all here, so I've kind of moved them to where they can start supporting their units and eventually get these units back into supply, even though the storm turn really hampers everything, right? So, for example, this headquarters can only push supply four road movements. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So as long as it's storm, as an example, this headquarters, and I think, what do we got here? So those guys would be in supply. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Once the storm weather clears, then they'll effectively be able to double how far supply is going. So, you know, that storm turn really hampers stuff. But so there we go. Yeah, moved an MSU down, moved an MSU. So from the supply depot to the MSU, I think we have a total of 8 that we can go. The MSU will extend at 4, and then as long as the headquarters is within close enough to the MSU, the headquarters can push it at another 4. So that's kind of how you have to handle supply there. It's something that, you know, you don't normally you don't think about until it's too late. And then let's go over here to Vietnam. There wasn't a lot of movement here. Obviously, this stuff is kind of gridlocked. This stuff is kind of gridlocked because we have clearing, and of course this little stack of 2 guys really probably isn't going to do a whole lot. Because number one, we're attacking across a major river, which I don't think we can do if there's not a bridge there, which there's not. But even if we could attack across that river, these guys are in urban terrain with 2 installations. Yeah, it wouldn't go well. So we definitely need more Chinese units surrounding Haiphong before we can do anything. But the main thing that we did do is we took the 78th Group Army, which were kind of back here, and we just started moving them around. And they were able to do that. So if you kind of look, we'll move these guys out of the way. These guys, I believe, these 2 were here. So there's no ZOC. These guys don't exert a ZOC across a river. So to cross a river is +2 movement points. And flat terrain is 1. So that was basically, they have a total of 8. So that was 3 movement points. 4 movement points. Because again, they don't exert a ZOC. A headquarters doesn't exert a ZOC. So it only cost them 4 movement points to do that. So basically I was able to start surrounding Tuyen Chong. I think the Q is a CH sound, so whatever. I don't speak Vietnamese, don't read it. So I'm doing my best, people, doing my best. So anyway, that is the movement phase. Now we'll move on to combat. So we'll have to resolve combats in all 3 theaters, and I'll be back in a little bit with those results.